Hi, I'm Mark with Crown and Caliber, and welcome to Hidden Gems. When we talk about modern watchmaking, we have to keep an idea that there isn't a whole lot new under the sun. A majority of what we do today comes from old masters. They come from the classic engineers and watchmakers from the past few hundred years. And this watch specifically is a love letter to one of, if not arguably the greatest watchmaker of all time, Abraham Louis Breguet. And what makes this watch so special? Well, let's get into it. I think you just have to start talking about Breguet as the guy.
Okay, go for it. Tell me
Good.
what it is.
Abraham Louis Breguet is a watchmaker that lived in the late 1700s to early 1800s. And everything he did about a watch was to make it better. The wheel, the hands, the numerals, the dial, the case, especially the escapement, everything he touched. He touched every single part of a watch, and a majority of it we still use today that he invented. And it's not just a stylistic thing, it's mechanical improvements. We call things Breguet hands. We call things Breguet numerals because he invented it. The hands are used by Patek, Cartier, Omega. Every single major watchmaker uses Breguet hands at some point in their styling. The Breguet numerals are used by the same people. It's a style that transcends time. It's literally gone on for over 200 years. And when we talk about what makes a beautiful classic dress watch, Breguet made it. This is the Breguet Tradition 7057 with the guilloche dial. So what makes this watch a love letter to Breguet? We're gonna start from the outside in. The outside of the case uses a coin edge, which is a style he started and that they still use today. And just like back then, it's cold rolled, it's pressed into the case versus CNC'd machine like we would today. Then we move on to the inside and we have the Breguet hands, which is again a style that Breguet started. It's these, what's usually called apple shape in the hands that are actually very difficult to make. And usually require hand filing in order to finish them up to make sure that there's a little more human touch to it. There's a little more love to this. The guilloched rose turn dials are a signature of his that is still used today. It's a style that's used by most high-end watchmakers when they start to show off and they want to show something that takes extra time and extra energy. And that's just what he did to improve dials and style. And then you go on to what he did on the inside of the watch. One of the big problems they had at the time was the hairsprings, which control the escapement and how well the watch can be timed and how accurate it is. The biggest problem they had was as you went through the whole mainspring power reserve, it was inconsistent how the power delivery happened. So as it was fully wound to how it was underwound, it was a very inconsistent power delivery. So the watches were only so accurate at some points of the day. But he created a way, which we call the Breguet overcoil, to make the hairspring more accurate throughout the power reserve. It's something that was so simple and so perfect that we still do it today. Another big problem that they had with the escapement is shock. Every time the watch got dropped, every time you sat down too hard and it's in your pocket, the escapement would just get knocked around, completely inaccurate. Yeah, I'll have to take it back to the watchmaker and get fixed. So came up with the parachute escapement. It's an early shock absorber system that he used to make it better that we still use in some watches today. This watch specifically, it has a bridge structure that was used by Breguet that's used by many high-end watchmaking today like Roger Smith or George Daniels. Anyone that's doing something by hand, often this is the kind of bridge work that's used. As you go deeper into the watch, it specifically shows the movement. And it shows the movement because it comes from a watch line called the subscription watches, which is thought to be the first serial produced watches. Breguet not only took all of his watch know-how, but he then created an industrialized version where he was able to produce the same watch over and over and over and over again, up to 700 times in this case, so that it can be done cheaper, still expensive, but cheaper so that more people could buy it. And it was a simpler one-hand watch, but the architecture is what they use here. It's easy to mass produce a watch. It's harder to mass produce a watch that's done well, that has some hand touch to it. And this starts to take it even a step further when the hand touch requires hand filing, hand engraving, where it takes time to hand file the literal hands on the watch. Those things are what make Breguet, and this one specifically the Breguet Tradition, it's a level of watchmaking we do simply because we want the hand touch in there. We want the love that was shown for these timepieces 200-300 years ago to still show up today. We can always buy a $50 watch at the corner store that tells time better, but it's not going to have the soul of this kind of watch. It's not going to have the hand touch and the history. It's not going to bring the emotion of the art of this watch with it. And that's why the Breguet Tradition is a hidden gem. I hope you enjoyed listening to me gush about this beautiful Breguet Tradition. Hope you join me next time on Hidden Gems.